Success is also very much in the eyes of the observer. It's not that I get up every morning and look in the mirror and say, oh, what a success I am. It's just me. I see the problems when I get up in the morning, do my best to look well. I would have liked to not have been so tall. I'd like to have had smaller feet. I'd like to have had more figure. I'd like to have had a smaller nose. I'd like to have been blonde. And, oh, well, you know, I'd like to have changed everything. Perhaps the most important thing which I carried through life is that whatever I've suffered has helped me later on. And when I love unconditionally.
Have people read this article in The Atlantic? I think it came out like 4 days ago, something like that. The people who quit dating. I think this piece is brilliant for a number of reasons. The people she speaks to in this article, like when they talk about quitting dating, it's not like, oh, I'm deleting the apps or whatever. It's like imagining, okay, cool, what if I never meet the love of my life? And essentially mourning that loss and then getting on with things. And basically what I really like about this piece is how kind of honestly people talk about the way that pursuing romance becomes such a huge kind of distraction. It's like being at a concert and instead of focusing on the artist that is performing, you're trying to lock eyes with someone because you're trying to essentially seek out a romantic connection and you want this spark to happen and you want this love story to begin. And that pursuit basically colors all of your experiences and you can't even really live in the moment because every single moment you're thinking about the pursuit of romance. And as much as people will be like, oh, you know, love comes when you're not looking for it, subconsciously, if you're a single person that wants to be partnered, it's always going to be in the back of your mind. So telling people that isn't actually helpful. But this whole like, I'm quitting dating is like being mindful of how those moments basically can make you feel sad when they don't lead to anything. Also, even on this app, there are books, there are podcasts about it. Everyone has dating advice and relationship advice. And this is how you can date better. And this is how you can meet people. But like fundamentally, like there might not be everyone for someone. Do you know what I mean? And so much of this requires luck more than anything. So sometimes you're pursuing something that it might not even happen. If the people who were interviewed in this piece met someone, you know, they would pursue it. But it would be a purely random thing as opposed to this is something that they were actively searching for. And I definitely do feel like when you quit the relentless pursuit of trying to find someone to date, you do feel a lot lighter. You do feel a lot freer. Do you know what I mean? That anxiety isn't there. You know, will they call? Will this happen? What if I meet someone here? Or if I don't meet someone here? I think that can just become so distracting. And I just really like this piece because I feel like it does feel like quite a daunting and scary conversation to have, but genuinely like sometimes give up. Like I'm being so real.
These are some things that I have done in public or like on dates or just in my general life that I feel like have kept me safe when my gut was telling me that I felt like something was off. This is like coming off the heels of the movie Woman of the Hour, which I am a scaredy cat, so I haven't watched yet, but I really want to support that movie because I think what Anna Kendrick is doing is amazing. I love female directors, and I'm just like really inspired by her. And I also want to preface this by saying that if someone really, really, really wants to hurt me and is set out to do so, and that is their primary goal, they absolutely will and they absolutely can. These are just some things that I have utilized to try to either delay that from happening or get out of the situation in general. But I never want anyone to feel like who has been a victim of a crime that they in some way, shape, or form could have outsmarted that situation, or if had they been more vigilant or had they been more this way XYZ, because if someone really wants to, then there's very little that we can do to stop that. But here are some things that I've employed just as like a reference point. This happened to me recently. I was traveling for work, got into an elevator, and it was really late at night, and I was the only person in the elevator. And this specific type of elevator was you had to use your key in order to press what button what floor your hotel room's on. And a man got in the elevator, didn't look at the buttons, didn't look at anything, just got right in. Right away, I was like, there's 40 floors to this hotel. There's a 0% chance that he's on my floor without even recognizing it. So because of the type of elevator I was on, as soon as the elevator started moving up, the first thing I did was I pulled my purse like this and I started digging. Like I'm like looking through it, rifling through. Then when the elevator doors go ding, I hold my arm like this on the doors. I look at him and I say, you go ahead. I forgot my book in the lobby. I have to go back down. I don't know why, but making eye contact always makes me feel better in those situations, and I never let the person stand fully behind me. So for example, when he got in, he was stood behind me in the far back corner. So I go back to the other corner and I'm like facing my body. Also facing him with my body. Also in those types of situations, I'm like, I'm not getting off of this elevator, because in that specific example, I knew that there was a camera in that elevator. So I was like, I'm not leaving. So I hold my hand like this and I go, you go ahead. I have to go back down. I don't know where that elevator is going. I don't know if it is in fact going back to the lobby. I don't really give a shit, but I'm not leaving this elevator. I'm not going to my room. I'm not keying in. I'm not having this guy follow behind me. It's not happening. So I was like, you go ahead. And he like awkwardly got off. And I was like, have a good night. The other example of elevators are, let's say you're in an apartment complex and you don't have to key anything in. There's no fobs. You just get on the elevator, press a button, and it goes right up. Let's say the same exact situation happens. A man walks in, stands right behind me, doesn't look at the buttons, doesn't press anything. I have done this where I will essentially, let's say in the quadrant of the elevator, he's back here and the buttons are over here. He doesn't look, doesn't press, just goes immediately to the corner and doesn't make eye contact. I will try to kind of like block the buttons with my body, and I'll look at him and I go, what floor do you need? Again, I don't know why, but eye contact makes me feel more in control of a situation. It makes, like, I feel more like I notice you, I'm not on my phone, I'm not listening to jack shit, like it's you and I, and if it's about to go down, like it's gonna go down here, it's not gonna go in the hallway in my apartment, I'm not going to where I live, like I'm like confrontational, I'm like, let's just talk about it. Not really, but you get what I'm saying. Okay, so I'll try to block it with my body and I'll say, what floor do you need? Let's say he sees the floors and he's like, I'm also going to 18. This has happened before where someone's like, oh, I happen to be going to that. Regardless of whether or not he's legitimately going, I truly don't give a shit. In that moment, I say 18 and I turn and I look, 18 is highlighted because that's where I needed to go. I'll be like, oh, perfect. Like I'll hit it again. So he sees that I'm hitting it again. And I go, I'm actually going to, and whichever button is like directly above it, I'm like, I'm actually going to 22. Same thing. When 18 comes, the elevator doors ding, I put my arm out and I will look at him and I go, I'll be like, this is your floor. Have a good one. Next scenario that I've encountered, let's say a man, asks me for my number. I do not feel comfortable. I don't feel comfortable giving it to him. I don't feel comfortable with him having my legitimate phone number. When he asks for it, I will change my number by one digit. It's one digit, it's always the same digit, and I always change it in the same way. So I change it by one digit. I've been in situations, this has happened more than I would like to say, where the person I'm talking to kind of understands that I don't want him to have my number. So kind of in a show of like dominance, like I'm gonna call you out on your bullshit, he will say in a very creepy, unsettling way, I'm gonna call you right now. Like, I'll call you so you have my number, but kind of in a way where he's like, I'm about to get you, I'm about to blow out your spot. So then, of course, my phone doesn't ring because it's an incorrect number. And I say, super curiously and sweetly, because again, all of this is like survival tactics. Like, whatever you have to do to like get yourself out of a situation, I would never judge. And like, never, there's no shame involved when you're like trying to get yourself out of an uncomfortable or possibly dangerous situation. I'll say, what number did you put in? He shows it, and then I go, oh, that 2 needs to be a 3. Calls again. Of course, the number goes through. I'm like, fuck. But then luckily, modern technology, I can block him later. Next thing, if I am at a bar, let's say I'm at a bar with someone and my gut instincts are screaming and I do not want to get an Uber with this man. I don't want to go back to this man's home. I don't want him to like walk me to my car. I don't want him to like walk me to the subway. I don't want to go anywhere with this person. And your body will tell you. Women are conditioned to be polite and accommodating, but your gut instinct is going to be screaming red alert when you're like, I don't feel comfortable with this person. Your only job is to listen to that. When that flares up, my mom literally was like, your only job is to listen to it. The second your antenna goes up, your literal only task is to follow that instinct. The worst thing you can do is try to talk yourself out of and be like, no, it's okay. Like he's like my, coworker's friend, blah, blah, blah. Don't do any of that. So let's say I'm at a bar and this person's like, oh, like, let me walk you, let me blah, blah, blah. I want you to know that like in my brain in those moments, I'm like could go off in this bar and I'm not leaving. I'm not going anywhere with you. I'm not going to a private parking lot. I'm not getting an Uber with you. I'm sure as shit not going to your home, like nothing. I will start putting on like Oscar-worthy performances. I'll be like, actually, my car was giving me trouble earlier, so my sister is gonna drive here and give me a ride home. Or I'll be like, actually, blah, blah, whatever. And I'll be like, oh, actually, my coworker forgot her notebook at work. She lives right here, so I'm just gonna go. She's gonna meet me here and just grab it. Thanks so much. And you start saying goodbye. You're like, thank you so much. Have a great night. Thank you so much. You say bye. You don't get up. You don't leave. You don't get up. You don't go towards the door. You are sitting on that bar stool and you're glued to that bar stool. If there's any resistance, let's say he's like, no, I'll walk you to her house. I'll walk you to this. I'll walk you to that. I will start raising my voice an octave in a way where it's like people can now hear, where I'll be like, no, I'm totally fine. Thank you so much for an awesome night. Get home safe. Like now people, like the table next to us is kind of like going like this because I'm banking on the fact that in public they wouldn't push social cues that far. So I'm like raising my voice as like a defense mechanism. And the whole time I'm like, thank you so much. You have to go now. I'm staying and you're leaving. And I keep reiterating that message. Like, get home safe. Let me know when you, and again, I'm talking loudly. Like this is a loud volume.
Hello. Pretty done with the second day of work. Look at pretty walk to the garage. Okay, that's it. Love you.
Please never try to convince me that sex is just sex. It's not that deep because I just went to an energy like Reiki healer. She holds my womb. She goes, who's Jamie? What do you mean, who's Jamie? I was like, oh, why you ask? Oh, I just can feel something like kind of in the womb space. I was like, he was like my first boyfriend. Anything about him? Not really. Like maybe he was the first person I slept with. Yeah, there's still, when you sleep with someone, their energy is like imprinted into your womb. You need to do some letting go. What?
Hi, I have a huge problem with the way that this is getting marketed off to customers, and I would love to share with you all where my insecurities started about having body hair or hair literally anywhere. So when I was younger, in middle school, I actually remember the first time ever that I was trying to shave my legs because I was so insecure because I was going to wear a dress for picture day. I vividly remember it. I was so nervous. It was really scary. And I cut myself a few times, but I thought, well, I don't have hair on my legs. I was a child. I remember being informed by a partner that I had about how it was disgusting to have hair down there. So gross. And being a very young, naive person that was in a very bad, vulnerable position, I thought that was normal. I was informed anything about my body was wrong. I was informed my hair was wrong. I was terrified of how I would taste, how I would smell. Everything was fucking wrong with me according to these incredibly horrendous societal norms. And all of this essentially pushed me to go through years and years of trying many different things and pretty much harming myself more in the long run. For example, I would try shaving, and the ways that I did it, I didn't exactly know because, again, it was a very taboo conversation. I ended up getting the worst ingrown hairs ever. I would get really, really bad breakouts down there all the time, and I would get scarring that I have till this day because I was so paranoid about what someone would perceive me to be, all because I had fucking hair that normally grew there. That also led me to being incredibly paranoid about, oh, well, if you smell, remotely like what your normal body part would smell like, you would be repulsive. So because I believed that, I would try things like Summer's Eve and I would buy all these things. I would be so paranoid, which led me to having incredibly awful situations where I would have yeast infections all the time. Really, really, really bad. And it made things a billion times worse. I would research things like bleaching creams, skin lighteners to help with discoloration, things to help with scars. I wasted so much money as a younger individual trying to hide packages so that way no one would know because I was so fucking insecure, when in reality, none of those things I needed to be insecure for, because hair is completely normal and a choice, and the way that you smell, unless there's something really wrong, you are perfectly fine because a body part is going to smell and taste like a body part. And additionally, you don't need to adjust any coloration, discoloration, whatever you want to call it, because the way everything is toned and looking is how it's supposed to. This type of marketing truly impacts the way people perceive themselves and deeply impacted the way that I perceived myself for years. And that is from a broad type of content, societal norms, etc. This shit should not be normal. Now, I'm never gonna dog getting a wax or hair removal or keeping it on. Whatever you want is whatever you want. But the way that you approach your marketing and conversations about this is how you are gonna evoke change, how you are gonna evoke a conversation to where these norms do not exist anymore, to where it's down to choice, not feeling like you have to please somebody else. Again, like I said, I know I'm being incredibly brutally honest with my experiences and maybe being a little bit TMI here, but these are conversations nobody wants to have because they're so fucking insecure. And I get it because I had to do a lot of unhealing to be like, I'm perfect the way that I am. There was never anything wrong with me to begin with, and there's nothing wrong with you. So if you're somebody who wants to have hair on or not, I don't fucking care. And to kind of continue this conversation, catering your business marketing around, well, your man won't eat it if you have hair, fuck yourself. You are a funky ass goofy bitch if you think that's normal. The person that you should want doing that is going to love you no matter what and is going to, be a grown fucking adult about it. If someone's going to shame you for having body hair, they're not the one for you. They're not a good person. That's weird, okay? Not normal at all to be shamey and gross and uphold a disgusting societal standard. Having it to where it's only this way, otherwise you're not good enough is insane. Saying that you should only have hair on your body and that's it is wild. Saying that you shouldn't have body hair at all or, you're weird is wild too. It should be up to what you want and what makes you feel good. And that is all. So thank you for coming to my TED Talk.
Did you know that superfruit clears acne? Meet the wonderful pomelo. Let me explain how it works. Pomelos look really similar to grapefruit, but they're more sweet and less sour, and obviously much bigger. In Chinese medicine, pomelos are a cooling fruit, so it's recommended to help decrease inflammation in the body and also treat acne. Also happen to be in season during the winter. To enjoy, simply peel the skin, remove as much of the white pith as possible, then just crack it open to reveal these perfect little segments. Highly recommend giving them a try.
If you're leaving this app with anything, let it be the belief that there are people out there for you. No matter how weird or ill-fitted you feel for this world, there are people out there who are just like you. My username, Earth is not my home. That's literally how I felt before I came onto this app. I didn't feel like there was anybody like me. I just didn't feel like I belonged here. But the 4 years that I spent on this app, speaking to y'all, sharing my perspective, literally just saying whatever comes to mind, has made me feel like, okay, like maybe Earth is my home. Maybe I do belong here. Maybe I do have some sense of purpose. And that's just something that I will forever be grateful for. This app has single-handedly changed the way that I view my headspace, because I used to see the way that I saw things as the bane of my existence. Nobody else feels this way. Everybody's having a good time here. Why are you considering that? just relax, have a good time. But no, these are things that should be considered. These are conversations that need to be had, and I'm gonna keep having them, just on YouTube, just on Instagram, just on Rednote, just wherever the wind takes me. And to every creator who has grown an audience on here, just know it wasn't solely because of TikTok's algorithm. There's something special within you that you need to keep alive. Keep it going. Don't let this fuck ass government stop you from what you really want to do.